director. So we're very, very, very hopeful that this morning's discussion is going to be informative and engaging. When it's Monday, we do a recap of the Sunday lottery draw, of course. And the first prize was 3525. 3525, with 25 being the single winning number. Second prize was 3327, 3327. And the third prize was 5708, 5708. If you won, congratulations. If not, you could try your luck tonight at the Bolido, which comes up at 9:10 right here on Love FM and Love Television. And if you're checking the missing numbers, well, 1, 4, 6, and 9. 1, 4, 6, and 9 is your missing numbers. Quite a number of missing numbers this week. But we just want to say good morning to Rene Trujillo, our news director, or Renee, as they would like to correct me to say.
It's
So that it doesn't they like to say Renee because they confuse, because people think that Rene too.
My
so.
name is actually pronounced Renee.
Renee.
It has an accent over
the
the
E.
So it's
That's
a
a
Renee,
Renee.
not Renee,
All
not
right.
Renee, not Renee.
Renee. Renee.
I
How was the weekend?
just stop correct people after a while.
I know. Sometimes they call me try, but that's all right. Cool with that from a small boy.
My weekend was good.
Great.
Very good. I was in great company. My children, my daughter came back home. She was away for a few weeks.
Okay.
And my son came to visit with my grandbaby.
Okay.
So it was a full weekend.
Reunion.
Did a little road trip yesterday, you know.
All right.
So it was a good weekend.
Great.
Can't complain.
Well, let's take a break quickly, and then we come back and we dive into some topics that's been burning hot. Those sort of things, whatever it is that's burning. It's now 27 minutes to 7 o'clock. We come right back and we continue our discussions. Reparation Committee. So that should be something on the horizon. I'm not a fan of that whole concept because I think it's more digressive than progressive.
Neither am I, but I will keep
Yeah.
my comments to myself.
Yeah,
on
well,
that one.
I've not been shy about the whole thing because, like I said, you know, we kind of continue to have those the same thing that it does to us, that we are trying to avoid this whole concept of being shackled to some past, and what reparation that concept does, because you're not going to get anything. You're going to talk, and you're going to get some level of tokenism.
you know,
I'm not hopeful, and we're wasting energy.
I feel the same way. I feel like we're putting effort into something that makes absolutely no sense. I think that while you must never forget where you came from and you must never forget your roots, like what people say, there's also a need for us to push forward, to move on, to progress. We don't have to stay stuck in that slavery mentality. As a matter of fact, that is what emancipation is all about. Freeing yourself from, yes, it's unfortunate what happened to our ancestors. It's unfortunate. You know, I had the privilege of visiting the Civil Rights Museum in North Carolina. And that gave you an even greater idea of what things were like back then. And in that museum there, you know, they still have the sign where it says no colors allowed. They still have the bathroom. It's like a porta potty kind of thing, where that was set aside in the basement for black people only. They were not allowed to, you know. And so you realize that, yes, all this was real. This segregation and this slavery, all of this was real. But that at what point do we, yes, we put it in our history books, we let our children and the younger generation know where we came from, but it's not something that you cling to mentally and pass on an inferiority complex, because that is what poisons a lot of people. The fact that they have this inferiority complex, the minute something doesn't go their way, or the minute, oh, that because I'm black. Some say it in humor, but in really, some people behave that way.
It's their own
that a
shackles.
black man, that a, you know, I mean, that like, you are holding your own self back when you cling on to things like that. Never forget your past, never forget your roots, but push forward.
Yeah.
Push forward and progress, and not everything that happens to you is because of the color of your skin. I'm not saying in no way, shape, or form that racism or discrimination does not exist. It exists, yes, it is a real thing. We see it every day, especially in America, more so than ever now.
And it's kind of politically correct, so I don't have a problem with the government proceeding and going ahead to establish the Emancipation Day as a public and bank holiday, to even set up this reparation committee.
But how much money are we putting into something like that, Troy?
And I agree that, well, once you set up a committee, there is going to be a cost that is going to be incurred, whether it's to bring people together just for meetings, that everybody's time has value. But to kind of underscore what you were saying, is that we have to stop live there at that spot, for the simple reason that we always walk around with this mentality as though somebody owe us something.
Right, that
and so we continuously live our lives waiting for that compensation that's not arriving.
You owe yourself success.
We need to move forward.
You owe yourself a better life. You owe yourself.
You know, there are some people, yes, there's quite a number of people, Renee, that walks around with that sort of, either it's an inferiority chip or a chip nonetheless about this issue, and their whole life evolves around that concept. And that is so sad for me. I see it very, very, very sad, because it kind of put them in a box on a continuous basis. Sometimes people don't even want to have much discussion with those persons, because immediately as things don't go their way, they run to that corner. They run into that corner.
Boy, that color card pissed me off. Like, don't bring the color card to me. I don't play the color card,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and people like to pull on that when things don't go their way, you know. But we talk a lot, Troy. You hear it all over the country in so many conversations where people want to tackle the root of the problem when it comes to crime, when it comes to poverty. And believe it or not, Troy, that very same mentality plays a crucial role in poverty and in crime. The mentality of that, of having that chip, of having that inferiority complex, of having that entitlement, that is what
And you
plays
know
a
what?
crucial role in crime and poverty.
Many persons don't want to tackle it from that angle because they feel like it's not going to be politically correct for us to say, please move on. You know, nothing wrong with you wanting to say, but I think you guys, your ancestors, because of your ancestors, you might owe us something. That's fine. That's a trend that perpetrated throughout the indigenousness of our people, the Caribbean. You know, every Caribbean island, you know, kind of have that same sort of mentality. So it kind of like trickles through the entire colonial era. Because, you know, we moved from slavery into the whole issue of colonialism. And so we kind of still stuck. When you listen to nothing wrong with saying, boy, I think you all robbed us in the past. You took our mahogany. We didn't get much to show for it. But what it did was created jobs for people at that point in time when there was nothing else for us to do other than, because if it is that we want to buy things, you have to earn. You can't buy if you don't earn. Because I am selling, you're buying. What we buy, you buy either something you have to trade, and in this case, now we use an instrument called money or dollars to trade. So, but before whatever it is that you could
Your
sow,
currency were items and it was wide
the
ranging.
currency of trade.
Yeah.
So the point is that in our case, we were able to work the logwood cutting or mahogany trees cutting or whatever it is that we used to do, and then we earn monies for whatever we did for families back then.
I think that the truth of the matter is, I think once we overcome this mentality, we'll overcome a lot of things in society. Nobody owes you nothing. My parents don't owe me anything. Whatever my parents earned while they were working, while they were alive, well, my dad and well, my mom when she was healthy, and that's for them. If they choose to leave that for me, then good for me. But at the end of the day, your parents don't owe you anything.
Blessed
The
is the
country
child.
doesn't owe you anything. You owe yourself. You owe yourself to build your life, the kind of life that you want. You know, I know the kind of life I want. That's why I work hard for try, you know, build. If I make it to retirement age, I know where I want to retire. I know how I want to be. What, you know, and so you build that for yourself and you try and you create opportunities. If you have to go and sell coconut water, if you have to go and whatever it takes, that you to build your own dream. Nobody owes you anything.
You know, when we were growing up, you know, in the Yarborough area, I didn't know, and I'm sure your mother and them who grew up with us, didn't know we were on the south side, didn't know we were on an inferior side of the city. We didn't know or appreciate any of that. We were mentally programmed to believe that because you came from the south side, and we were programmed, you know, over the last 20, 30 years, we were programmed that the word south side or north side was never in our discussion as young persons growing up. Never. We felt good that we were just like 5 or 10 minutes away from downtown. That was how we felt. We were going to take a walk.
I think it was generally referred to back by Yabra.
Yeah, but it was just an area. But it wasn't classified because you were trying to compartmentalize person in terms of their economic strata. And their educational strata was never used as a divisional component. It was only used as a way to identify your address or the area that you were, back at Sandpiper or back up Penn Road area or so was never used to degrade you. No, we're using it as a degrading component. You know, it's a south side, and we use that label. We label ourselves. Nobody came and told us to look down on persons who come from across the bridge, the swing bridge. Nobody told us that. We did that to ourselves, and so we need to unshackle that component. I don't know if we could remove it now. It's so entrenched. It's so entrenched. All of us get caught up in it now. But the point is that's not a labeling that should be placed on us.
I think it's a never-ending cycle, but it doesn't mean that families cannot start pushing their children to understand that yes, slavery is a crucial part of history.
Absolutely.
You can't and should never try to erase that part of history, but you can work on letting that not happen again, and not creating circumstances or issues, because sometimes while you think you're standing up for yourself in trying to push for reparations and push for this and push for that, what you're actually doing is just holding yourself back. You're not pushing forward.
Well, you're looking for a reason why you're not going forward or don't want to go forward, and that is so critical for me. So as I sat there and I listened to the components in the presentation, you know, that kind of envelopes my mind, because I'm sitting here in a compound that the colonial master resident. So imagine the progression. You know, and I'm saying, are we realizing, is this such a paradox that we are not really realizing that we have moved forward from this position, that we are sitting?
That's quite the irony, Troy.
Yes.
That's a good...
Yeah, we're sitting there
reflection.
where the colonial masters and where the supposedly slave masters and all of that. We are controlling our destiny. And we are saying, we're saying for the most part, fine, let us not forget. But we don't want to go back and live there.
But to push it even further, you're sitting on the very same property of what used to be the home of colonial masters. And it doesn't matter who's sitting beside who. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. It doesn't matter your social status. Everybody is welcome. It was an open public ceremony. That was
to
not
me,
limited.
as I look around, everybody was my complexion. So
You
I was home.
And so that that even enhances it more to show how much we've progressed. You know, and that's what we need to continue to do. We need to continue progressing as a country, and stop using that whole slavery mentality as an excuse why we're not going anywhere, or why we're sitting down and waiting for something, or, you know.
To me, we are creating, and I'll close with this from my end, we are creating and continue to create our own shackles. We have to be able to say, you know what, we have evolved. We have evolved, and we are going to be progressive. You know, if some groups still want to push the reparation component, and by some stroke of luck, I would think that we get any kind of compensation. I am saying good luck. But the point is that for at least the last 30 odd years, I've been hearing this discussion and about somebody compensating us, and persons will do tokenism kind of component to us, you know, to quell the noise. But that's not progress. We are the ones that will have to be progressive. I keep hearing that somebody is holding us back.
Can you ever be compensated for history?
I don't know if there's a cost you could put to it, but...
Can you ever be this is how I look at it, right? Because I consider, for me, I think every single one of we in Belize have black in a way at the end of the day. I am not racist or discriminatory in absolutely no way. So I'm saying that to say that every generation had its own struggles, its own hurdles to overcome, right? Our great-great-great-grandparents had their own struggles to overcome. But it was worth it for the next generation. And then the next generation came and overcame hurdles. And then the next generation came. So we're to be thankful for our ancestors for how far they've gotten us, because when you look at what Belize is today compared to what Belize was so many decades ago, we have progressed.
Absolutely.
You
We
know,
have.
and I keep on saying this every single time, and I really hope that it registers somewhere that you might be thinking that, oh, yes, there's corruption. I'm not saying that. Yes, there's crime. But all in all, when you look at things holistically, Belize is probably one of the best countries you could ever possibly live
But
right
but
now.
the point I'm making, Renee, again, the corruption that it is.
Well, we
it
could
is-
get into that
it is
corruption
people-
discussion. I'm saying generally,
is the people.
we're living in a good country.
We are
Right?
running.
We don't have to be worrying about going to sleep at night and bombs going off. We don't have to be worried about them blowing up our hospitals. We don't have to be worrying about children and babies getting killed and women getting raped, and because of this whole war and genocide that you see happening in other parts of the world. We sleep good at night. Thank God. You know, and so when you think that you're having a bad day, think about those people
Yeah.
who don't know when a bomb is going to get dropped. Think about all of that. I'm not saying life isn't tough. I'm not saying life isn't hard. I'm simply saying that we have to be thankful because we're still living in a good country, a very peaceful and safe country for all intents and purposes. When you look at it
Everything is
globally,
relative.
right? When you look at
to
it
the
globally.
to the circumstance.
So I just wanted to put that out there. When it comes to corruption, that's a whole different topic.
Yeah,
but I
but-
wanted to push more on the side of gratitude and the fact that we do live in a good country.
But-
And then we have areas like what you're talking about.
Yeah, let's underscore the point is that we Belizeans are running our affairs. It's not no foreigner for the most part. All our internal and domestic affairs are being run by ourselves. Yes, we are influenced by geopolitics and the whole economic concepts that are happening from outside, but everything that we're doing is people that are born and bred from this country. So the point is we are running our affairs. So everything that is happening amongst ourselves, we have to be able to say whether for good or for bad, it is us causing it. And when I say us, meaning Belizean, any one of us 400,000 or so, 418,000 persons now.
Maybe instead of being so general, you need to break it down. So whenever you reach, let's say, for example, a checkpoint and you don't have your proper documents and you offer the officer a $10, a $20, you're a part of the corruption. It's as simple and as basic as that.
Basic as that.
Whenever you are circumventing policies, rules, or regulations, and you're either charming your way out of it or buying your way out of it, you are a part of the corruption. You understand? So corruption is not only unique or is only exclusive for politicians. It's for all of us. We're all corrupt in some way, shape, or form. And the corruption can only end when you decide to have all your documents in a row so that you don't have to stop
Every
down
time
at
you jump
checkpoint
the line.
and bribe a police officer or bribe what. That you're a part of the corruption, something as simple as that.
You know, going way back as young boys, Martini, and you want to get to buy ticket if you jump the line.
Jump the line,
and
that's
you
a
pay
part
really
of
extra,
circumventing.
and different things so somebody could buy your ticket for you and you give them a little extra and all of those things. Those are all part of a corrupt act because the rule says you come late, you catch the line and you wait your turn.
But how people justify it is like, oh, me giving the police officer $20 and I'm nothing compared to the millions where the Mira family
Yeah,
get.
no matter how
It
big or
doesn't matter,
small.
right? A sin is a sin is a sin. The point is we just do it in different shades and colors, but it's a sin nonetheless. And so it's corruption nonetheless, just in different shades and different colors.
And so we need to take responsibility that we in charge now as people holistically, because at the end of the day, there are not going to be any great white hope and any great white horse to come in and help us and save us.
Talking about white hope,
Uh-huh.
boy, UDP had convention this weekend.
You're wicked. You're wicked. You make it sound like this is a great abnormality. But where did they, which area?
San Ignacio Santa Elena, the given municipality.
Okay, so did Miss Bernadette run?
Of course she did. She was endorsed.
Endorsed. Okay.
Eventually she was endorsed,
I
yes.
got the memo.
And so was Trapp.
Okay.
And so he announced his slate
Okay.
yesterday after the convention.
Okay.
And so at least you have that down pat.
What
But
is
that was a
Belicity
given
one? Is that one
because
for Belicity? Are they going to have
for
one for
UDP,
Uh-huh.
I don't even know if they have candidates to Belicity, Troy, because
They
you're
have
not
one, they
hear
have-
anything.
well,
I know
yeah,
about Jackie
yeah.
Willoughby. And
But
I
it
think
wasn't
I saw
Philip
Philip
Willoughby too?
Willoughby as
Yeah.
well. But you're not hearing anything out of the. So you're not hearing anything out of the UDP camp, and this is unfortunate because I think that you should have at least been seeing some sort of traction in terms of putting together slates. With the PUP, you already know they already have dates set for their conventions. I think the first one is this weekend coming up here. You have a first few of them because they'll be having
you have 5.
simultaneously.
I was counting 5 because last week we spoke about it briefly, but let's take the break and come back so that we could talk about those conventions, because I think those are going to dominate the conversation at least for the next 30 days. It's a minute after 7, so let's take the break and come right back. we are back. It's now 6 minutes after 7 o'clock. As we said earlier, you're in tune with the morning show right here on Love FM and Love Television. Those persons who are just joining us, it's myself and Renee Trujillo right here on Love FM and Love Television. Renee, just before the break, we were talking about the issue of the convention. We know that the People's United Party has one coming up in PG on the 16th. That's been a sort of almost like a battleground for the People's United Party. They have a lot of issues down there as it relates to transfer, because it's coming right at the time when transfer period is occurring as well, July and August, and they're having these conventions in August primarily. So it does impact the voters list, because you could bring
You
people
know,
from village
Troy-
into town, or take people from town to village off the voters list, or you could add to the voters list. So it is a
This whole
contentious
idea
situation
of,
right now.
not idea, but this whole matter or issue of corruption, real, you know. So I am being told, have not confirmed it as yet, but I was told over the weekend. Remember, there were objections to certain transfers in Punta Gorda that went to court last week. So I was told that the transfer window, the objection window had closed on the 25th of July. The submission was made on the 27th. I believe the person had gone in the 24th and was told to come back Monday.
And then they come out and say the date
The
passed.
date passed. They accepted the objection, you know. Hold on. So apparently election and boundaries, they went in the 24th to file the objections and whatnot. They were told to come back the 27th, which would have been the Monday. But the window for objection closes on the 25th. So when the matter went to court, that's the technicality that the attorney is now looking at, to say, well, the deadline was the 25th, and Mr. Param, was it? Supal? Supal. Mr. Supal filed it on the 27th. So it should not be valid. It should not be accepted. That's the attorney's
That's
defense.
the defense.
Yes. That's the attorney's defense, to say, well, it gets submitted late. So I think it would be unfortunate, especially if these transfer of votes are not legal, in the sense that
Yeah,
the people
legit.
they're not legit. And a lot of this is happening across the country, and I find it very unfortunate. Isn't Bella Vista in Toledo East constituency? That's Dr. Osman Martinez constituency. So,
But they
It
won't be
begs the
able to
question.
vote if they lived in Bella Vista. Technically, they wouldn't be.
they can't vote in Punta Gorda
they
Town
wouldn't-
Council
They wouldn't be
because
authorized
they
to
live
vote
in rural.
Yeah.
So they would have to move. And I guess when general elections come, they move back to Bella Vista for voting a general too. A lot of
Well,
people
it
play
doesn't
a
matter how far
seesaw.
they live in Toledo East, because Punta Gorda is in Toledo East.
Right.
So
But
for
voting
technically,
in
if
municipal,
I was
right.
him as a candidate,
Yes,
it
it
makes
not really
no
make a
difference.
difference thingy.
Yeah.
But it makes a difference if you're trying to push for.
Will it make a difference in the convention right now as it is, and the municipal when it comes up in March?
Yes, that's
But
what I said.
The point is, it is the UDP that is making is Mr. Sopal on the UDP slate or PUP slate?
I think Sapal is UDP.
Okay, so he's
And the attorney is Leroy Bano.
Okay.
Right.
But then, if the attorney went in on the 24th and filed the objection,
No, it's not the attorney that filed the objection.
okay, Mr.
It's
Sopal,
Mr. Sopal.
Uh-huh.
He filed the objection.
and they accepted it.
Yes.
And so how does that, when you hear it, is not what the law says. The law says when you must file it. So how does the argument comes in now that the 27th is too late, when obviously the court doesn't work on a weekend. So if I file it on a Friday and the court will hear it on a Monday, that's how it normally works anyway.
No, they went in to file on a Friday and were told to come back Monday. But coming back on Monday to file would have mean you missed the
Then
window.
you don't leave. You don't leave because you know you're getting played.
So I guess that was the mistake
Yeah,
there.
you don't leave. You have to take my objection today, if that's the case. So we have to understand that rules are rules because you're going to get played with technicalities.
Corruption again, Troy.
But the point is, that's a public officer that obviously tells you that tells you come back Monday, and you must be sensible to understand that that's not how it works. If that is the argument that they are putting forward, and the defense is using that component, then it puts the magistrate or the court in a very ticklish situation, because the public officer won't probably come forward and admit and say, yes, I tell the gentleman, because they themselves had no right to do that. You do your job. If the person got in there before closing to file the objection on the 24th, which the 25th was a Saturday, which would have been the date that
The deadline.
the deadline date, you would have been out of time.
But with everything else, politics very iffy, so I have to get to the bottom of that and find out what really happened. But yeah, I think that matter comes back up today, though. It comes back up today in court.
Well, I would suspect so.
So we have to follow the case.
Unless the officer would come forward and say, maybe I erred, I'm the one who made the error, then...
So aside from that, like I told you, UDP had their convention over the weekend. You had the Mayor Trapp leading the slate once again in San Ignacio.
Santa Elena.
San Ignacio, Santa Elena. There's the slate there that he has.
Okay.
And they include, Mayor Trapp, and then you have Bernadette Fernandez. You have Abdel Omar Kowo, Sandra Lanza, Lynn Valentine, Ileana Moreno, and Kim Price.
Okay.
So that's the slate there for the
UDP Twin Tongues.
For the UDP. I'm being told here, Troy, that the law does allow for the submission to be made on the Monday.
Okay.
So, but I can tell you in an interview with the attorney Leroy Banner, the argument was that it was filed past the 25th
He's for the
July.
defense or the claimant?
He's for the objections, the six.
He's representing Sopal.
No, Sopala UDP.
Okay, so he's representing the election
the
of boundaries.
six people, yeah, essentially.
Okay. Essentially. Okay, and so his argument is that they filed too late.
Yes, if the last day of the period is a Saturday, Sunday, or public holiday, the period shall include the next following day not being a public holiday. So, which means the Monday would have still been okay for them to file according to...
I need to say what it's saying, because remember, hearing and filing is two different things. So if it says you need to file before the 25th, then the 25th is the 25th. It doesn't matter whether it fall on a weekend or not. But maybe the hearing could be heard later. But I stand corrected because, like you said, Banner is arguing that they were out of time.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that he would argue that meritlessly in terms of what the law provides. But that's for the reporters today to find out. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And why that is interesting also is that could also impact the convention that comes up on the 16th, because those persons would be qualified once accepted to be on the voter roll within PG and the People's United Party. In terms of their list, those persons could be accepted as part of their delegate list, because most conventions tend to be closed. They're more for...
It's a delegate.
Or you could open it up, but kind of be selective.
Open up one kind of worms too.
Yeah. Be selective that only the people who you classify as UDP or PUP to vote.
Yeah, so you have that, and then do you have the list of conventions coming up for PUP? I know you said PG would be this week.
Then I think you have also Benke and others. I had it somewhere here.
So with PG, morning, Mr. Galvez, Mayor Galvez, there in Punta Gorda.
Yes, I saw him. He said the the question would be, did Mr. Sopal gone to submit the objection on the 24th, and which is a Friday, and did they refuse or to accept it? That's the question. So again, these are questions that are out there. Let me see. I believe everybody is focusing on these conventions. They want us to stay on this issue because this is a transfer period. So we have to stay on this issue of how important it is that this period, as it will impact the March municipal. Persons will be moving from villages in and out.
The thing of it is, Troy, that we can sit behind this desk and put on microphones and we can talk about it till the kingdom come. It's up to the election and boundaries to do their proper due diligence because, Troy, I cannot understand how we can allow 50, 60 people to be registered the one address. And when you go to the house, you sit at that house only one 2-bedroom house. How 50, 60 people live there? I mean, there has to be some sort of...
Do we still have that kind of situation?
Of course we do, Troy.
I thought those were things of the past.
I tell you, I personally saw one register for one ledger from Election and Boundaries with 32 people that lived on one address on Freetown Road.
Where?
I personally saw with my own eyes on the ledger with 160 odd people that lived at one address on Regent Street. And the address, and they're not in our house, our office. And so my point to you is that we could sit down here and we could talk till we blue, but at the end of the day, the onus is on Election and Boundaries to verify and understand that, listen, how is it that you could allow 150 odd people to live on one address on Regent Street when you clearly this are not residents? How do you still allow that to happen?
Well, this is the problem. Very quickly.
And is it really and truly a case of lack of human resources to verify these things? Is it the lack of political will? Is it, why do we still allow these things to happen?
You asked the question about the People's United Party convention. Then I just going to come back to that. August 9th, Corozal. This is this weekend. August 16th, Punta Gorda. August 23rd is Benquevejo. And August 30th, Belize City. San Pedro, Belmopan, and Orange Walk and Dangriga will be endorsement.
San Pedro, Belmopan, where?
Orange Walk and Dangriga will be endorsed.
Or Ladrick, the run again?
I would think so.
Okay.
And the San Ignacio, Santa Elena, that is still to be announced.
You hear Prime Minister say they bring in San Ignacio, Santa Elena this election, so you must really try to put together a power team out there.
Not true?
The San Ignacio, Santa Elena. Yeah, but like I was saying, Troy, I think that you have to really push for make Election and Boundaries really verify, like get down and verify these residences, and not only that, though, Troy, the opposition obviously not do what they need to do. Either one, PUP, UDP. If PUP say so much people live that is addressed Albert Street, Regent Street, why don't you make a big fuss about that, and vice versa?
Yeah.
So but that's where political will comes in. Because they pad the addresses, Troy, and that's a part of the corruption.
I saw the weirdest thing the other day on television, and I'll come back to that whole issue of this this crowding of voters in one area. But I saw what I would deem a clear obstruction and a violation of the law, where one of these UDP stalwarts were actually obstructing physically the election and boundaries officer from doing his job in some area. I can't remember the actual area, but when I saw it, I saw clearly that would have been a breaking of the law, and that was exactly why the law in terms of abuse of and taking an advantage of public officers were put in place to occur. And I think that we should not allow those things to continue to happen. We see it in front of us. Deal with it, man. You have to deal with it legally, or if it's a police matter, you have to go and arrest the people then for the violation, or the election and boundaries have to put in their report. They keep making these things slide. That should not happen under any circumstance. You can't bully nobody. You know, you can't bully nobody. The officer has a job to do. There's a process, due process, same as is happening right now. You go to the courts if you feel that something is being done erroneously. And so I object to those sort of actions, and I also object to the reluctance or the delay in for those matters to be addressed.
You know what I applauded, Troy? Remember when that whole registration business may come up that Kaya North? And the magistrate took time out to leave her courtroom and go physically make checks herself at these addresses.
And struck off some of them?
And struck off some of the names from those addresses. The magistrate literally took time out of her courtroom to go and check out the residence herself to see if all these people were actually living there. And was able to struck off, I think it was 24 names from that were wrongly registered in the Kaya North Division. That's how you clean it up. But if you don't have the political will, if election and boundaries don't have the proper human resource for doing what they need for do, how are you ever going to make it stop?
Well,
but is it in the best interest of politicians for it to stop? That's the other question right there.
Well, we've had all these years of dealing with it. You see, for me, it's to continue to work the system. The system is structured in such a way that if everybody does their job the way the law sets out, that is exactly you're going to get the level of transparency.
But Troy, maybe, as part of being progressive.
No, I don't have any idea where you're going.
Maybe the law should change that allows you to move into the constituency of your choice, not necessarily by where you live, but like me, we feel so unrepresented at Queen Square.
Then you
I laugh because
then the diaspora say I could pick my division. The people in the diaspora, I will pick my division where I will want to influence.
I laugh because it's not a laughing matter, but really and truly, I am very unrepresented. You understand? And I envy the people there in the Caribbean shores and the Frito when you see them, they have Mothers Day get together and Fathers Day get together, and my poor Queen Square people, they don't got nothing. I want to be part of. I want to be part of Freetown. I want to be part of Fort George.
Renee, I make the point again. That it's us, and I say it because it's something that irks me, because it is us who accepts that you know what was way back sometime, and I was really amazed and the guts for the politician to say it. Dean Barrow says, I no campaign, me personally, go walk around on no street. I have my sister who deal with that, and so he had the nerve to say that to the general public and to his constituents.
In all seriousness,
that's some bravery.
I don't think that bravery. For me, I think that it goes to show the kind of representation Dean Barrow had in Queen Square, without any kind of jest or bias. Being very serious, the man literally didn't need to be in Queen Square, because Sister B literally took care of Queen Square. She was seen walking those streets, and if she not call wrong, she sent her people there. I could remember one time, and it's the simple things that count, Troy. I could remember one time when my mom wasn't feeling good, Sister B call to check and see how you're doing, you need anything, That's the kind of representation you had. And that is how Sister B used to represent Dean Barrow. So he never need for the inner for he area. We understood, or let me say Queen Square Division understood that when you see Sister B, you see Dean Barrow. When Sister B, they come and give you whatever, a pantry, or they have one Mother's Day, whatever, that Dean Barrow, they do it. You knew that this was being done through her. But in this case, there's no Sister B, there's no Dean Barrow, there's no Godwin Hela.
Need a surrogate. If he can't do it, he needs
I
a
think he
surrogate.
never learned good because
Yes,
he
he was a
used to
part of that
work.
team?
Yes, he was a part of that team, and he used to drive around Sister B and whatnot. I guess he never learned properly because he's not a good successor to what Queen Square was used to. So I'm saying all of that to say that you don't have to give me anything, but if when election time come, you could at least call me and ask me for vote for you, campaign to me, you know, that sort of thing. But you don't get any of that,
Yeah.
you know. And so that's where representation comes in, and then it begs the question, so if I'm not seeing, and Queen Square is a relatively small area,
actually.
and if I'm not seeing any kind of movement happening in Queen Square, then the question comes up, then what is the area representative doing with the monthly money that he gets from government to sustain his area?
Community vote.
Right. What are you doing with all of that money that you're getting to represent Queen Square? How do you spend it? You understand? Because I'm not seeing any kind of movement happening in Queen Square. No kind of celebration, no nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing.
No Mother's Day.
You know, Mama used to get a little Mother's Day hamper. Mama used to, you understand? Me no want nothing. I good, but I used to say how Mama, you know, they used to treat Mama and whatnot. And you know, say none of that anymore.
Oh, my.
You know, I could remember one time Dean Barrow came to our house. You understand? During campaign time, even though he say you don't have to deb out and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I guess I kind of figured, and I never did find out. I think he was trying to do. He was making visits to places he wasn't sure would vote for him.
Okay.
He was trying to like convert that kind of thing, or where he wasn't sure would
I
have.
always say to politicians, everybody is your voter in your division. You should not declassify anyone as your voter. Everybody should be your voter because you never know.
So when you refer to Dean Barrow as being brave to say that, I would rather say that he was very established. He was an institution in his division that he didn't even need
he said it at a time
to show his face.
When our system was clamoring at the time, I could remember, for the touchy-feely type of politician. And we're still there. We still want to be able to touch base with our politician because we grew up that way. Actually, it's the indoctrination of the father of the nation, that contact, because he was one of those rabid campaigners.
He was very,
and he made a point to learn your family tree and all of that. So
oh my goodness, he could riddle off your entire family tree when he met you.
We got programmed in that way to expect that
from our politicians.
While in larger and different jurisdiction, you don't necessarily, you go to campaign rallies, and so if you want to be able to come in contact with your representative, then you go to town hall meetings and different things. But we want that personal touch. So if he not pass wrong my street or go touch base, we get a little bit annoyed about that. Some people get really annoyed that they don't vote for the candidate because of that.
You know who else had that good representation to Troy? Ralph Fonseca. What part you say Ralphie, you say Ralph. You know I say Ralph but you want to say Ralphie. And what part you say Ralphie, and what part you want to say Ralph.
Rest in peace, both of them.
Both of them, yes. But that was another example, like Dean Barrow and Sister B. You had Ralphie and Ralph, you know.
And if you can't have a good surrogate, then you have to do it yourself. You know, so it's important.
But I think going back to the representation of people, if this is what you're going to do, then you have to understand how people want to be represented, and you have to do it. I say it in jest all the time about Queen Square. I'm not making jabs at anything or anybody in particular, but I am a morning show co-host, and I can verify to you that I am not being fairly represented in my
Well, how you
constituency.
feel, how you feel, you know.
You
There's
know,
not a
and
way
I think
to
that this is not something that should
shortchange
be
that.
taken lightly, because there's no community activity happening in Queen Square. There's no kind of progression you see happening in Queen Square. So then where is the money going? What you call it? The community
Come the
vote.
vote.
Where is the community vote funds going for Queen Square? You know, and you have to ask that question, because how much do they get every month, Troy?
It could vary between at least 15 to 20,000, between 10, 15, 20,000 dollars. I think max out at 20. I think based
So
on
let's
the
say a
bigger
minimum
division.
of 10,000. A minimum of
That's
$10,000. That's
$120,000
$120,000 for the year. How is that being spent in Queen Square? You understand?
Yeah.
And as a voter in Queen Square, I need to know that. I
Indeed.
have the right to know that. How is that money, the community vote money, being spent in Queen Square? And I
Yeah.
remember Prime Minister talking that, well, we can't ask for every single receipt, because that will take what unload of time for check and audit and what have you. But they are supposed to submit a report. I would like to see the report from Queen Square. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to ask for it.
Yeah.
I'm going to officially ask for the report.
We got to
for
go
that.
to a break. When we come back, we'll chat a little bit about House meeting on Friday. But just in Dangriga, Mayor Mariano had sent me a note, says he will be returning. He'll be endorsed along with somebody, Tina
But we
Castillo,
said that already, right?
Sharon
Dangriga is an
Ramirez,
endorsement.
Mario Bull, Jerry's Valentine, and Gilberto Bernardes. And in fairness, if the UDP has a slate that they whoever has my number can share it with Renee, and so we could hear who will be representing them.
Yes,
in
please.
the next
UDP,
election.
in all fairness, provide us with that information so we can present it to the public. Because all we're getting is information from the PUP side. We're not getting anything from UDP to put out there, and I would like to keep
And
things
none of the media
balanced.
houses seem
and-
to have it either, because I haven't heard
yeah,
it anywhere.
I would like to keep
else.
it balanced, and so I asked the UDP to please be a little bit more caring and sharing.
27 minutes to 8 o'clock. You got to be at work at 8. You better start moving, otherwise you will be late. We take the break, come right back.
With ease, a light to moderate easterly airflow prevails. The 24-hour forecast, Belize and her coastal waters, calls for sunny skies today with a few cloudy spells, and high temperatures are expected to reach 89 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, to 95 inland, and 83 over the mountains. Tonight, the skies will be partly cloudy, becoming cloudy at times, especially over the south, with low temperatures of 82 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, to 74 inland, and 68 in the higher elevation. Showers or thunderstorms will be isolated, except for the south, where a few more outbreaks can be expected during the morning hours and late at night. The wind will blow from the east at 10 to 15 knots, and the sea state will be light chop. A low tide will occur at 7:08 this morning, a high at 1:02 in the afternoon, another low at 17:07 tonight, and a high at 1:18 tomorrow morning. The sun rose at 5:32 and will set at 6:24. The moon set at 9:45 this morning and rise at 9:46 tonight. The outlook for Tuesday and Tuesday night is for partly cloudy to cloudy skies at times. Showers and thunderstorms will be isolated, except for the south, where a few more can be expected. In the sargassum forecast, there is a high chance that more sargassum mats could impact beaches, especially over the northern half of the country during the next few days. And in the tropical weather outlook, no tropical cyclone formation is expected near or over Belize and her coastal waters during the next 48 hours. And with that, we conclude your morning forecast that was prepared here at the National Meteorological Service.
It's now 20 minutes to 8 o'clock. Time flies, Renee, and it is the third day of August. If you're celebrating your birthday today, I want to wish you a happy birthday. If you're celebrating a wedding anniversary, I want to say congratulations. I want to say congratulations to Paul and Christy Wade. They got married this weekend as well, and you know I had the chance of attending their reception, so I want to congratulate them publicly as well. So wish them long life together. Renee,
Troy,
house meeting was Friday. Oh, got it.
UDP convention, at least we get one date.
Oh yeah. The Dangriga and Sunday have two slates. Somebody unofficially has mentioned to me that there has a convention coming up this Sunday, and they have two full slates that will be competing
In Dangriga.
In Dangriga. So I guess Monday we'll be able to report which slate is going to challenge Mayor Mariano's slate, as that will be, they will be endorsed. So for the People's United Party, it will be endorsed. So the UDP already know who their opponents are going to be. Or that's the slate that is victorious will already know. So that's now going to be solidified after Sunday for Dangriga. We know San Ignacio for the UDP already. Their slate is in place. The PUP don't have a slate yet. They don't even have a convention date yet that is to be announced, if there's going to be a convention date or an endorsement.
Well, they did say that they want to have everything in line by the time their anniversary comes up in September, so they still have time.
Belize City,
It's the end of August.
I expect Corozal this weekend to be a significant battleground for the People's United Party. With
I don't think so.
Mayor
You know.
Beos and is being challenged.
But I don't think it can be one.
No big deal.
No, I don't think that's a big deal. I would make a prediction, but let's not.
Let's hear it.
Let's not. I think Punta Gorda might be a bigger deal, a much bigger deal than Corozal, and I think Belize City will be a great deal.
I believe it will be. These will be delegate selection. In particular, I believe City. I'm being
Yeah,
told,
you just
so.
have to do your work with the delegates. That's all.
Like I said, in the case
I see Kirkland Smith is running on the PUP for municipals. Yeah,
okay.
I think
okay.
that would be a good selection there.
Well, it's quite a number. I haven't seen any of the list other than the two mayoral candidates for Belize City, which is Eliud Miller and Alan Pollard, two young, vibrant young men. And it certainly will be, always a tough choice. But it's going to be a battleground because, divisions take their stake as well in terms of who they would want to represent them within the city. And, there's always internal jostling that occurs, who have control of certain areas. For the most part, delegates vote in block if it is that they're instructed to do so. If not, then you have to go do your campaign and make sure that you win over their minds and hearts. And get them out on the day too. Because the same way you have to bring out voters on election day.
Yeah, the mobilization.
You have to mobilize and bring out your delegates as well
But
if
Troy,
it is that
as
you want to get them to cast a vote for you.
you mentioned, there was house meeting on Friday.
Yes, it went very late
It went late.
till about minutes to 11. It ended. Quite a number of bills were passed. I think one of the huge one was the BEL investment, some 73 million that government is taking up preferential shares within Belize Electricity Limited. And I heard the discussion, from a financial standpoint, it is an oddity in terms of the share value. I heard that raised by the leader of the opposition. BL has been going through its own growing pains over the years because the cost of electricity has been extremely expensive compared to what it is that we're being billed, because we're getting power from many sources, and when you're getting diesel power, electricity, and you get increase in fuel costs, that impacts the cost per kilowatt hour of producing or generating that particular kilowatt of energy. So if it's costing you more to generate it than what you can sell it for, you know you're operating at a loss. So they will have to go through their restructuring. The society or the community can only take so much of increase in terms of electricity rates. So there's always a jostling in terms of what the rates are going to be, because you can't seem to be able to generate it cheaper. Yes, there are times we are getting power from CFE when it's very cheap. Now they're planning to put in place battery system to be able to buy at that low rate, store it, and then you can utilize that over time to be able to keep your electricity rate for your operational costs lower. So it's a jostling act. I want the politics is, these things are low-hanging fruit for politicians, and I don't have a problem in terms of people taking their pot shots at these circumstances. But the bottom line is we see it from government to government, administration or parties to party government, that the situation is the same. If anybody who's been around like myself way back in 1984, one of the big reasons the People's United Party lost the 1984 election is blackout. Blackout was a problem. They couldn't keep the light on. And people were watching the Cubs game and all and anything, and people was frustrated, and the UDP was able to create a campaign position or slogan that they have the ability to keep on the light. That was one of the significant components. There was IMF standby as well, arrangement. So when all of these things put together, we as younger persons could recall that this is also an Achilles heel for government. The load shedding, that gets on people's nerve because there is a level of unreliability. So the government has to race now to be able to find ways to be able to put in place alternative power energy source. And solar is one of them. We've talked about it for quite a long time, but we need to start to act. We need to start to get moving. We need to get those batteries here. But again, everything takes time, because delivery for these generators, delivery for these battery packs, they take a long time to be manufactured and delivered, because people don't start to manufacture them until you order it and make the necessary commitment, i.e. payments or partial payment or what have you. So we're always in a lag time. And this is not an excuse for BL, because they got enough public relation to do that on their own. But the fundamental issue is that they are operating at below their operating cost in terms of their revenue. They need, but they can't be allowed to pass that on to the people, because it will make us uncompetitive. It will make us can't afford it. In many instances, people can't afford it. Right now, they're struggling to keep their lights on, and to increase it is only going to make matters worse. However, they need the capital injection. They need the capital injection, and because the government has the majority ownership, then they are obliged to find a way to fix it. It's not the most ideal way, and I will say that right off. But in any business, when you're operating below your costs, you have to have a capital injection. You have to do your level of restructuring to be able to keep your costs low. And one of the other areas is to be able to get a cheaper source of generation. And thankfully, we got the rains, so we are able to get the hydro dams at least operating, hopefully at optimum, and less reliance on CFE, because during the hot months is when pressure is on, especially in Mexico. And as we always say, charity begins at home. So when the pressure build up over there on their system, well, by Belize, we don't have to take early, cut. We can pull the switch. We don't figure out how we don't continue to supply you all. I don't believe that we should ever give up the CFE link, but the level of dependency should be removed over time. And I believe that we should be able, if we can't fix this thing in the next 3 or so years, then we're wasting time. We should be able to be at where we could meet the capacity demand in terms of the growth, because Belize as a country, the demand has grown rapidly and outpaced the investment that we have made in alternative sources other than CFE. So we need to pick up that slack domestically where we could have that level of independence. I didn't have a problem with us purchasing the hydro dam, Renee, because I felt that had a component of independence to us, where we control our own fate than a foreign entity deciding how they're going to make the necessary investment in upkeeping that particular facility, which we are extremely dependent on, especially in the months when the rains are on.
So 3 things with everything you said just now. I hear people keep on clamoring for, where is this $500 million? I think that was the amount, I don't remember, from Saudi Arabia for the solar grid.
Is that 77 million?
77
US?
million, sorry.
Yeah.
I stand corrected, please, don't quote me. On the solar power grid from Saudi Arabia. And I think one of the things that people don't understand, and this might be a reflection of the weakness in information service from the government, is that people thought that would have been something immediate. A lot of people, they speak from a place of ignorance, not knowing. And so when government comes and says, oh, we signed an agreement for 77 million, people expect that to be implemented right away. But these things tend to take time. If the next election comes and UDP wins the next election, they will benefit from a lot of this groundwork, because this essentially is what you call it, groundwork. It takes a while for it to roll out. It takes a while for it to be executed and implemented. So you can sign an agreement today and you don't see the fruits of that agreement until 2, 3, 4 years down the road. Right? And so people are clamoring, where is this 77 million? Oh, then done TFIT, then done this. But again, it comes from what I keep on talking about, a very weak information system by the government.
We don't get it yet, actually.
Right?
It's not disbursed yet.
But Troy, how you know that? How you know that?
That's how it works. Because, yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Exactly my point. I know the top about
I'm
you.
talking from a
Don't
position
make
of
this
public
about you,
knowledge.
Troy,
Yeah.
Gab.
No, but
it's
I'm
about
saying-
the people.
But I'm giving as a point of information.
Yes, but you know this. You're not a spokesperson for the government
Absolutely
of Belize.
not.
And so I'm talking about the weak information system that the government has, because when you come and you announce a Saudi Arabia deal, people expect immediate implementation. Did the government say, oh, this will take, or provide a timeline or something of that sort, right? But they look at it as, oh, we signed an agreement, another feather in the cap. Oh, we signed an MOU, another feather in the cap. But do you really and truly go into the nitty-gritty, into the details of
Right.
these things so that people could understand that this will take a time to happen? That's one. 2, I am very concerned, and I'm becoming even more concerned in terms of the expenditure that the government has. Remember last week, Monday, I came to you and I said to you, did you know that it takes a minimum of $30 million to collect garbage countrywide and take it to the transfer station? And that is a cost that the government bears 100% of. That $30 million. That does not include if the trucks then go down, if the transfer station have issues. It don't include none of that. We're talking just basic operations. $30 million with no contribution from the public, right? Then you have the issue of BL. I was able to have a sit down with the executive chair of BL Mr. Lin Young. And I was able, I sat down with him for I think an hour or so, and I was able to understand a lot of the internal workings at BL. And one of the things is exactly what you're saying, is that the amount that they are paying per kilowatt hour is far more than what we are being charged. So let's say, for example, and these are not the exact figures because I can't remember them off the top of my head, but let's say, for example, it's costing BL 10 cents per kilowatt hour. We're only being charged 3 cents. Where does that other 7 cents come from? And I think these are the things that a lot of people are not realizing in terms of government expenditure. Now, something as simple as garbage collection, they run you $30 million a year, Troy. How do we fix that? How do we come together as a country to lessen that cost so we could see that money or some of that money injected into housing? Julius Espat keeps talking about he wants to build more houses, but you don't have the capital to build more houses. How do we fix this garbage expense here at $30 million a year so we can push more into housing? Or we can push more into whatever other areas, I don't know, but any other area other than $30 million to deal with garbage, man, make it make sense, Troy. And then you have the BL thing. I understand what you're saying. You can't pass on the entire cost to consumers. A lot of us are barely trying to pay our light bills every month, right? So I get that. But it also requires an awareness from the public to understand that while you're complaining or you're upset about your light bill, you're not even being charged half of what BL is actually paying. And the price fluctuates with CFE, right? It's not one set price, it fluctuates. And right now, BL has to be doing a lot of shedding across the country, because the truth of the matter is that while Mexico is looking to upgrade their electric grid and also enter into a whole area of solar energy, you have to understand that we're still dependent on them. One, the Saudi Arabia thing hasn't come into effect. The hydro dams are a backup essentially. So you have to, and we're still not necessarily on the Central American grid, which I know the Prime Minister had said a few years ago that was one of the things they were pursuing as well.
The submarine cable for San Pedro is still pending.
Yep, and San Pedro, like what Lin Young had told me in our discussion, is that the kind of growth that San Pedro has been experiencing over the last 3-4 years is 100 times more than what they had anticipated. They did not expect that level of growth, so they did not think that they needed to push for that increase. Or actually, the gas turbine that they had, they thought would have sufficed in providing the growth, because they expected a gradual growth. And apparently what's happening in San Pedro, which is reflective of one, the kind of revenues that they reported in their financial report earlier this year, the growth is tremendous in San Pedro.
There was a huge spike.
Right? And so now they have to try and figure out how they're going to do that, which brings about the financing for the submarine cables, right? And San Pedro is a tourist destination, and tourism is a main source of revenue for the country. So you have to look at all of that and understand why putting that in San Pedro, that kind of investment in San Pedro from the MCC fund, is very important, because San Pedro is a tourism hub. Tourism is a main source of income for the country. You have to service it.
Yeah.
Right? If they don't have electricity, then tourists will the word will spread and tourists will stop going to San Pedro.
It's the main hub.
So it's the main hub. You have to put money in that sector, in that area. So that's understood. A lot of things you have to look at with common sense and not with blue lens or red lens, but rather with a more pragmatic view of, okay, does this make sense? Because essentially it's a business that you're running, you know. It's a business that you're running, because you have to try figure out how I take money for put here, Where am I get money from for put here? How do I offset this cost here so I could help here? It's a whole juggling scheme and a whole juggling situation that you have to go through. And there are a lot of things that are happening, Troy, where you also have to question how do we fix the area with wastage? Now, don't get me wrong. This entire thing with this Mira situation had revealed a lot of things. Like, what are we feeding our soldiers? What are we feeding Coast Guard? Can we scale down, perhaps? Or can we adjust our budget and our diet and our the food consumption, the food purchases? You understand? Why can't the BDF have their own farm? Why can't they have their own farm where do the lettuce and the tomato or the whatever, the vegetables, whatever they need? Why can't the BDF do their own farm instead of they procure all of that? Procure fertilizer, procure seedlings and all of that thing and make them tend to their own farm. They have their own kitchen. They have their own what we call commissary. They have their own residential area.
They're kind of self-sufficient.
Right. So then let them have let agriculture, Ministry of Agriculture step in and help them to build their own farm. And then you distribute their vegetables or whatever across the different bases and whatnot. Let's look at ways how we can curb our spending because we have too much expenditure in the sense of, like I said, and forgive me because I still am at a bit taken aback by that $30 million a year for garbage collection. That's a significant amount of money.
Yeah.
You know?
And as I say, garbage is big business.
And I think that we really need to look at that.
2 minutes after 8, we take the break and then we come back and continue our discussions.